You know, this is one of the biggest challenges I see for women.
Oh, yeah.
Forgiveness. The big challenge I see for men is taking responsibility for their mistakes.
So forgiveness is such a challenging issue for couples that have gone through painful infidelity or breakups. Do you have any advice for people that are watching that are looking to figure out how to forgive someone? Where should they start? What can they do?
Well, one of the things in my book I talk about in Let Love In is understanding the patterns of why you are attracted to the certain people that you've been attracted to. And it brings up, oh, okay, this is related to my childhood and what happened and how I related to my parents. And there was a tendency to get angry at the parents and to blame the parents for their love life, and I'm single, Dad, because of you. And what happened with me was that when I it went beyond forgiveness. It was more like letting go of the anger and the frustration I had with my father that actually healed everything. And so a lot of people think forgiveness is what you know, if I let that person off the hook, then I'm like wide open and I'm still wounded. But what you're doing is actually letting go of the pain around the whole situation or even the judgment around it. And so it really can free someone to understand what true forgiveness is, and it's really about you, not on the other person.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think the only person who's left holding the bag is the non-forgiver, and it sets up a crazy dynamic. If I say, Tammy, you have wronged me, I need to forgive you, then I'm innocent and you're the perpetrator, and it sets you up as a victim. And there's just an instant polarity. So you can't solve that except for to switch the polarity. Now I'm the perpetrator and you're the victim. And as you say quite brilliantly, it's just to decline. Like at this monkey on my back, I'm just gonna say, get off.
You know, this is one of the biggest challenges I see for women.
Oh, yeah.
Forgiveness. The big challenge I see for men is taking responsibility for their mistakes. And it's kind of a nice complementary aspect, is that if the more men take responsibility for their mistakes, it's easier for women to find forgiveness. And the more women are able to find forgiveness, it's easier for men to be responsible and take responsibility for the mistakes they make. For women, one of the challenges of finding forgiveness is if somebody wrongs me, okay, and I'll give an example just happened, my dog bit me. I was so upset. You know, this is the dog I feed, I love, I give to, but I was trying to get the dog in the car and the dog had a bone. And when this dog has a bone, he growls. And I thought, this is silly, and I grabbed him by the collar to put him in the car, and he growled at me and snapped at my hand. It didn't make blood, but I was like, am I gonna love this dog again? And what I noticed, as soon as I felt hurt, I was now looking at all the things I do for that person, and that's the female side. When women are mistreated, they go, but I did this for him, and I did this for him, and I did this. And if I forgive him, that means that it's not his fault, then it's my fault. Like you were saying, that duality sets up as whose fault is it? And we get caught in that. What I see frees women out of that intellectual whose fault is it, is exploring emotions. If a woman can take the time to explore the raw emotions of hurt and anger and fear and sorrow and regret, the emotional exploration frees her from this grip of who's right, who's wrong. And when she comes back to what is it she wishes and wants, she feels more appreciation and love. That's where the forgiveness automatically comes out. It's just in there, but she has to release herself from the mental trip she gets caught into, come back to the emotions, find the forgiveness, and then you rise above it by seeing how you contributed to the problem. And that is women's freedom and salvation. It was when they realize whenever there's a problem, there's always two people contributing to it. And as a man, I hold the power to bring out the best in my wife or the worst in my wife. And as my wife, she holds the power to bring out the best in me and the worst of me. So if the worst of me comes out, it's not her fault, but she's aware that I know how to handle this guy, you know? I can bring out the best in him, just like I resolved it with my dog, which is, this dog is wonderful. I forgive you for biting me. I put my hand in an alligator's mouth. Just don't do that, and I can be happy with my dog. There's certain things I can't expect it to completely conform to my expectation of reality. So we have to adjust our expectations, and forgiveness doesn't then mean we're gonna be a doormat to let somebody
Yes.
do that again. And that's the fear people have. If I forgive, it means I'm a doormat and I'm letting you do that again. No, it just means I'm not giving you free rent in my brain so that I can blame all my problems on you, and then I'm powerless to ever change them.
Yes.
You know, working with couples where there's been infidelity, forgiveness is always the big question. And I always tell people, you know, forgiveness is not necessarily the goal. Forgiveness is an organic process that happens over time. So I agreed with a lot of what you all said. And that really the ultimate goal is empathy. And that when you learn that it makes sense what somebody felt or did at a time, even if you don't agree with them, even if it's not what you would have done, but it makes sense for them, then you learn a new sort of explanation, a new story, and you learn a new empathy for yourself. I think what happens with forgiveness for a lot of people is, I can forgive you for what you did, but then what do I have? You had the affair, now you have the forgiveness, and I have nothing. So, you know, it becomes a power thing. So then if I get upset or mad or I feel powerless, I'm gonna take the forgiveness back. So one day I might forgive you and the next day I might not forgive you because I have nothing else. So it becomes a power thing instead of a real organic process. When I really have empathy for what you did, and it makes sense that this happened to us, it's not your affair, it's our affair. It's not something that, that I don't feel. Then the forgiveness happens naturally. And so I don't think it's the goal. I don't think we do affair recovery only until forgiveness and then it's done. I think we go past forgiveness into empathy and into erotic recovery. Until we work on what's going on in your erotic life, I think that other person is still in bed with you. And so forgiveness is a long, organic process. I'm sorry is kind of skin deep. It doesn't necessarily fix things. And you say I'm sorry and then I owe you forgiveness, that's not the end. So, you know, I talk to people in my book, The New Monogamy, about hanging in there and working through the process. That it takes time. And empathy is an ongoing choice.
So it sounds like forgiveness is a process for every human being to go through, and it involves being empathetic towards the person who's hurt you. It involves digging deep and figuring out what your personal responsibility is, and then taking some of these techniques we've just put together and practicing it every day.